If you've ever wondered what a bad day of working on cars looks like, it's pretty much this. This chaotic disaster is the result of foam coming out of the blend doors and blowing out of the vents. See, inside the heater box in your car, there are doors. These doors are meant to control airflow. Once that foam comes off the door, it no longer controls airflow and just lets air pass right on through, which means you don't have good heat and you don't have good air conditioning, which is the exact situation we're in with that R32. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how we got into this mess, how to get out of it, and of course, we are gonna fix those blend doors. So, all right, our first order of business is to get the airbag and the steering wheel off. I have my fleet of tools here. It's pretty basic stuff. T20s, T25s, 30s, some trim tools. Got my stage 5 bent screwdriver for the airbag. I am gonna leave the battery on for now. This car's 20 years old. It's spent a lot of its life in Texas, so a lot of our plastic is gonna be real fragile, so we need to be really careful. A tip when taking an airbag out, you wanna set it like this, so that if for some reason it spontaneously explodes, it's just gonna explode this way. If you set this upside down, and it explodes, this will launch like 2 stories in the air. It's actually kind of awesome, but don't try that at home. Oh, that didn't feel 50 Newton meters tight. So these bolts that hold the steering wheel on are technically like 2 or 3 times use. You're supposed to hit it with a punch every time you take it off. We'll probably just put a little bit of fresh thread locker on it and reuse it. I'm gonna show you a couple of things. So steering wheel just pops right off after you take the bolt out. So I added this black mark with my Sharpie. Right underneath where my black mark is, right here on the steering column, is a small indentation. So you basically line that up with the indentation on the steering wheel. So I also like I said, keep the steering wheel straight before you take it off. When I had that screwdriver back and I was kind of doing this number here behind the steering wheel, I was going into this hole and to this hole right here. So those are where you access the spring to release the airbag. You don't want to pry up against the foam of the steering wheel because I've seen tons of steering wheels just ripped right here, and you don't want to do that, especially on an R32 steering wheel, which if you can even get a new one is probably going to be like $700. Since I'm right here and I have my lazy boy approach, I'm gonna just take the rest of the column trim off. I'm also probably gonna use minimal power tools just because I really don't want to break a bunch of plastic. You can see it gets all scratched up where the soft touch peels. That is so common on this whole car, really. Another of my like weirdly overprotective things that I do is I usually try and tape this little rotating guy right here. So this is our clock spring. Every signal that is in the rotating part of the steering wheel has to go into the car. So inside of here is a small ribbon cable. You can rotate this with the steering wheel off, but then this can get out of time and it's a whole big disaster. But we're gonna go ahead and get this clock spring out of here now anyway, since we're right here. We can fix those tabs if we have to, but boy, anything I can avoid having to fix, I'm gonna do that. Got some more blend door foam and some hair, gross. Now, the next key thing, see these metal brackets right here? Those are in the perfect spot for you to kneel right onto. And I can tell you, that is an awful, an awful thing to do. So get some foam, set it on there, not have to have that bracket just rack the crap out of your knee. Because I've done it more times than I want to talk about. So I'm gonna take the whole center console out. We'll get our the tray. The tray in the center console is almost always like gooed into place. Oh look, and even some foam from the blend doors is in the tray. Be strong. Good Lord. I guess we're gonna have to get a little more aggressive with that one than I had intended. Jeez. This is a kind of an R32, I think 20th and GLI exclusive part. All right, let's cut this shift boot off. Good Lord. I guess I need to go to the gym one more time. This one's not terribly crusty, but just like that steering column trim, it peels and gets all nasty. AC trim, we can take our AC control head. I'm probably gonna clean this out a little bit. Using hand tools, we are not gonna beat flat rate. The door fell off, no big. Something hit me in the ear. It's foam from our blend doors. No drinking for oh, that plastic's broken, or foam from the blend doors. Here's some broken plastic. Here's some broken plastic. And then the clips that should go here and here, they stayed behind in the metal part of the thing. So we could fix this. We could add a little bit of epoxy and make that work if we have to, but we're gonna try and see if we can get another one instead. Here's a, this is not supposed to come off with this part. We'll vacuum that, it's probably full of dust. We're getting to a place now where I can start to use some power tools, which is nice. So the reason that is the dash plastic's a little bit stronger than some of this trim plastic, and we got some metal parts too that are pretty solid. This thing's got some goofy headlights in it. Someone put tape over the pin to kill the daytime running lights. All right, so if you're doing this job, you're gonna encounter tons and tons and tons of screws. It's important to note there's two major kinds. There's this one, and there's this one. This is a coarse threaded screw, that's a T20. This one with the washer on it is fine thread T25. They go into two very different retainers. You could probably send either one into either one of the retainers, but you wanna be mindful of where the T20s come out versus the T25s. If you're not sure, you can kind of take them by hand and thread them in. They should thread in super simple. Like, if you have to struggle to thread the bolt in or the screw in, it's probably in the wrong hole. Radio out. We had a wire come out of our radio connector here. Just add that to the list of things that we're gonna have to fix here at some point. Once the radio and the HVAC controls are out, you can get this whole radio basket out. Okay. Oh, what's this? A parking pass from a high school from 2004. So this is probably the original owner. If you're missing your parking pass, I found it for you. This is the OG glove box because it's got the fuzzies in it. No ability to get this trim piece off. Jeez Louise. It's like, good Lord. Has this ever been off before? Jesus Christ. Oh, cool, and it broke. This one broke, and the damn thing barely came off. Cool thing about the glove box being broken is nothing, but at least I think I have another glove box. First screw of the glove box, the hole just wallered out. That's a word, wallered. That's what it should look like. Nothing makes you feel like a crappy technician than working on one of these older cars where everything you touch breaks. One time I was doing a heater core in a B5 Passat, because that was super common. When I put it back together, I think I had swapped the connectors for the hazard switch or something. I can't remember what it was. This was a long time ago. And so the whole dash was just not working right. It took me like 3 hours to figure out what I did wrong. So if you ever email me and say, hey Charles, I just did a job, and ever since I did this job on my car, this thing is happening, I will always tell you, go back and check your workmanship no matter how sure you are you did it right, because I have been sure and found that I got connectors screwed up or something like that. I think the last thing I need is this little sensor up here. We might have our dash unbolted. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. Hopefully I got everything. We're gonna go nice and slow. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't worry about that green wire. That's not important. One dashboard out. All right, look at foam, it's all stuck to the floor. Good times, this is what it looks like behind the dashboard of a Mark IV. Very dusty, not very cutesy. We also have a couple of things that while I got the dash out, I'm gonna fix. This wire was teed into this pin in the headlight switch. I'm gonna pop the pin out, run a piece of heat shrink over that and fix that, evaluate all the rest of this stuff and see if there's anything else I need to fix. But where we need to access now is behind this little section of ducting right here. That's gonna give us access to our main blend door. So we got a couple brackets on each side we have to take off. We can get that off of here. Oh, look at this little blend door piece of foam right here. Oh, there's more. We'll start up a collection. There's a tab at the top. That's what I was missing. Oh, look. I'm gonna dump a bunch right here. That's not even all of it. Oh yeah, there we go. It's exactly what I expected it to look like. Just a disaster. Something else gross is all the dust over the years that gets in here. One of the bad things about the cars with the Climatronic is that you need to hook the Climatronic head unit up to move the doors so we can get to them and refoam them a little bit easier. But this is the point in time where I'm sitting here pondering my life thinking, why? If you're interested in purchasing some authentic German R32 foam, let me know. I'm gonna do my best to try and clean the box as much as I can, because you could see that it's so much dirt. Over 20 years gets built up in there. Dirt is probably the least nasty thing in this whole box. For real, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit here for a couple minutes and contemplate, do we just pull the damn box out? It already doesn't have refrigerant in it. I don't wanna, but I'm feeling that draw to just do it. What would you do if you were in my shoes? It's probably not gonna change the outcome of the video, but I'm always curious how do you guys approach this kind of stuff? We're 70% of the way there. We already don't have refrigerant in the system. If we pull the box out, we can do a full, thorough, deep clean. We can recover the doors in a much better way than if we leave it, but it's a lot more work that I hadn't really planned on. So for now, let's get the rest of this foam off, put it for GermanFoamForSale.com, keep going. All right, so we took a small pause to film some vertical content, and this is gonna be really funny because we're just gonna blast all this foam out. It's probably gonna hit me right in the face, so I'm gonna move over. That's what it's like sitting in a Mark IV. I wonder I have a rash on my arm. GermanFoamFinder.com for all your used foam from an R32 needs. I think we're in pretty good shape. I think the next potentially challenging thing is gonna be actually getting the tape on the doors, because we're gonna need to clean all the leftover adhesive off the doors. You know, when we go back together with it, we're gonna have to be equal, if not more careful than we were coming out, because we don't wanna break nothing else. We were filming and this whole thing took us an hour, maybe. Far and away the hardest part of this whole job, kind of true on most things on cars this old, VWs this old anyway, is that the plastic is so brittle and so fragile. If you look at it wrong, you just have to take all the care in the world to make sure you're not tearing it up and making it worse. So. Okay, so you may have seen piles of boxes up on top of this shelf for the last 4 years. That has been my R32 part hoarding corner. This is mostly stuff for the black R32, but what I wanted to see is, one, did I have a glove box? And I did. I have a spare glove box. It is not the flocked inside one, but I think we're just gonna rock it anyway. I also wanted to see what else I have. So I have a center console rear, I have a center console front. I got this little cup holder for the back. I have this whole box right here. It's got some good stuff in it. This sweet leopard print steering wheel cover. Definitely gonna be putting this on Paul's car at the next car show we go to. Mark my words. This must have came in the black R32. Or I bought it. Can I fit? Oh yeah, there we go. What do you think? Is it demure? This is how rusted the black R32 was. That's the battery hold down. So we had a lot of rusty, crusty, dusty. So I'm digging through this box and I see what I think might be, it is a heater core. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that other box that I have in there is likely an evaporator. So I guess that means we're pulling the box and putting these in. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really wanna do it, but it's the right thing to do. All right, so I got some good news. We already went through my stash of R32 stuff. I got a spare glove box, that's awesome. We're gonna use that for this car. I just talked to my buddy Tyler, and he's real good about finding R32 stuff new. He has the armrest console, the center console front. I'm gonna use my consoles that we have here so we can get this car put back together. Then the ones he has are gonna go for the black R32, and we're gonna make some repairs to this piece. So that's cool. We're gonna be able to actually make this thing pretty legit. So our goal here is to get the heater box out. Now, I'm pretty sure by the repair manual, you gotta take the crash bar out. It's been a while since I've taken just the box out. And what I'm trying to remember is, can I loosen the crash bar, which is this piece right here without having to mess with the steering column, without having to take the bolt out that's underneath the wiper motor, and just kind of nurse this box kind of down and out and wiggle it out that way. I think I can. I'm like 80% sure. Worst case, if we gotta mess with that stuff, I wanna show you something that's really neat about a lot of VW wiring. So if you look at the way this wiring connector is bent, it actually has a memory to it. When we pull it up to its spot, what we'll find is that the airbag connector is gonna be right about here. That is a huge help when you're like, where the hell do all these wires go? Even if you've been a mechanic for 500 years and you're like, where the hell do all these wires go? They got a bit of a memory, which is super duper helpful. Since we've pivoted and decided to pull the whole box out, I have to disconnect the lines to the expansion block, the heater core, and the evaporator. Honestly, that's probably the dumbest part of this whole job, is getting to all this stuff, especially on the VRs, because it's just buried. By the way, if you ever have a high pressure switch that fails, you do not have to evacuate the refrigerant to replace it. There's a Schrader valve in the line, so you might lose a little puff of refrigerant, but not like exploding in your face. Well, like the video that that I was able to catch. So I get comments often about like, how do you keep your beard from getting caught in car parts? And I usually have a snarky answer of like, the same way I keep everything from getting caught in car parts. I just don't put my body into rotating parts. But one of the beard challenges while working on cars is when you're in a position like this, which happens pretty often, you end up laying on it, which is mega annoying. Try and not get coolant all over the carpet. Now we should be able to go inside and sweet talk our heater box for coming out. There we go. There we go. Okay, our box is loose. We gotta be mindful. We gotta put it back in. There we go. That, my friends, looks like maybe this car had a critter in it at some point. Victory. Ooh. See that pink? That's evidence of a coolant leak. There's not really any down in the box, but we made a real good choice. I'll say it again, I don't like that we had to do this, but this is exactly why I didn't want to take the box out without having a heater core ready to go back in, because this one was leaking. There was no sign of it, no evidence of it in the car, but it is undeniable that this coolant heater core was leaking. That is why we take our time and behave very carefully. Look at that. Oh, we didn't even get all the foam out of there. Get this off of here. Look at, even this foam is all crusty dusty. Here we go, we got our evaporator right here. That's this guy. Why it's designed like this, I have no idea. I assume to make the door lighter, but man, oh man, does it cause problems for people. Okay, I ordered some foam and some tape for those blend doors, but it's running late. So while we wait, let's rebuild our shifter. I already installed the first gear getter from Diesel Geek. It's super easy. If you do it out of the car with the whole box on the bench, it's much trickier doing it in the car. Diesel Geek recommends drilling a hole like that big on the side here, and I just don't love that idea. So I do it in the car. You gotta kind of fight it a little bit, but it works just fine. I've done like full step-by-steps, I think, on how to do this. Everything has a hammer side. This is kind of the story for all these bushings. Over time, this just wears. It can either wear inside of here, or it can actually be on the outside. So if you replace this and it's still a little loose, you can actually take some heavy cardstock and put it between this ball cup and the metal housing, and that just tightens this up just a little bit. Now we can get this guy out of here. So that's all lubricant. Somebody's definitely been in here, because it usually doesn't look like that from the factory. I can't imagine a world where I would go this far and not just do all the bushings, but basically the only bushings you don't do are this one, but we do the rest of them, including these guys right here. You can see they're all crumbling apart. Here it is. Here's the bushing that goes in one of the cables. So we're gonna replace this one It's not hard, it's just kind of a pain in the butt. Really, the biggest thing you need is a whole bunch of patience. We got 2 bushings we're gonna put on. One, this little 10 mil guy right here. The one that goes in the bell crank, this guy, boop. The other one is this one. This one's the one that's a super pain in the butt. For this one, you're gonna also end up reusing the clip that was on it. Oh, by the way, this usually takes me like 4 times to do. Oh, that went on right away. Good job, Charles. Nice. I'll put links to everything we use down in the description, the foam and the tape and all that. Ah, I'm stuck. Get off me. Oh. We gotta get this clip on. This is probably the main reason why they tell you to drill that big old hole in it. Damn it. Okay. All right. That wasn't super fun, but I think I got it. I'm also not gonna put this piece back on just yet, because what I have found with these first gear getters, if you don't glue them in, they come out. When you're driving along and all of a sudden, this is what your shifter is like you're driving an air-cooled Volkswagen, it makes you paranoid. We're gonna do our reverse bushings, which are behind this spring. Also, be real careful with these screws here. They are easily cross-threaded, and the head of the screw is easy to strip out. Why is this being annoying? I'm gonna do it the cheater way. Hold, please. This should just pop right out. There's literally no spring tension on this. This is the stupidest thing that's ever happened in the history of stupid things that have happened. There we go. That's what should happen. No! It shouldn't go back on. Oh my God. That's how easy it should come off. There's that saying where it's like, some days you're the something and other days you're the other thing. I'm the other thing today, apparently. All right, 9 months later, we have successfully installed this. The only thing I think I lack is a shifter cable adjustment, but we're not gonna do that right now because I gotta get the cable and link up front fixed. For our box, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean it, not only because look at all the nasty dust and leftover foam bits that are in it, but it's gross. Clean it with whatever you want, right? I just happen to have these disinfectant wipes sitting right behind me. Lord only knows what kind of cooties are all up in this box. I didn't say that. This is what is going into your lung holes, just this little section. There's one I cleaned a little bit with. This is what they look like when you take them out of the box. We have 2 doors. This, I believe, is the direction airflow door, and I believe this is the temperature control door. We need something to clean these with, like some brake cleaner. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this ducting tape. We're just gonna tape over the holes. If you end up going over the edge, you can either fold it or I think I'm gonna come back and trim it. Big thing is don't put any right here. These are where our pivots or dowels, whatever they're called, that's where those go. Even if our foam that we're gonna put on here comes off, our doors are still sealed up. You can just stop here. You can do all of this exact thing in the car, but for our case, we are gonna take the next extra step because if we're not doing too much, what are we doing? We are gonna put some foam like this so that our blend doors close nice and quiet and they seal up completely just like they would have done when this car was brand new. You have a ton of options when putting the foam on the blend door. I like to do it in a way so that I don't have an edge on the top of the door or the bottom of the door. It just in my head feels like that's gonna do a better job and prevent the foam from getting caught down on the bottom or up on the top. So these are the evaporators. This is what allows you to have cool air in your car. As you can see, this one has 20 years of cooties on it. This one doesn't have no years of cooties on it. Now, when we put the box top on, we are gonna be super duper careful just to make sure we don't booger up our evaporator or anything like that. I'm gonna go ahead and put the blower motor in as well. I said I cleaned it. It's still yucky. Our box is back together. Everything looks good. Oh, we need to put the heater core in. Okay, we did it. We have successfully refoamed our blend doors. Now's the point of the video where I tell you installation is opposite of removal and good luck. I'm just kidding. That's what the repair manual does. That's not what I'm gonna do, because there are still some super important things that have to happen when we reinstall this, and then really when everything's back together, some vital stuff that I'll show you exactly how to do here in a little bit. But for right now, I think we should take a moment and celebrate that we have accomplished a task that I didn't want to do in any capacity at all before we get to be in an uncomfortable position for the next little while and have our back hurt pretty bad. And all right, we got our box and we are ready to go. I even signed and dated it right on the top. We need to be super careful going back in. Not only do we need to line up the AC drain, we got the evaporator and we got the heater core. The last thing we want to do is jam and cram this thing in the car, break something, and now down our car for Lord knows how long until we get a replacement. So I have these bladder things that I'm going to try and use to pull the firewall away and push it up a little bit. I already got one installed up in here. That felt real nice. I think it's in there like swimwear. That actually went really well. My next step is gonna be an unpleasant one because we gotta go back under the hood and bolt it in. So I'm gonna go put those 4 bolts or the 4 nuts in. We gotta put that 1 duct in. I'll be straight up. That went better than I expected. All right, our box is in. I next will be doing the, I'm gonna hook up the heater core. We can hook up the AC machine and run it in a vacuum. That way any moisture that's got in the system while it's been disconnected can burn off. And the reason I like to do that stuff first is because I can let the machine run the vacuum, let the air bubbles bubble out while I'm putting the rest of the interior back together. So even though we're not flat rating this really, it's a pretty good time saver. So we're gonna let this thing sit overnight, do its thing, and while that happens, I'm gonna nurse my sore back, because getting bent over a Volkswagen can make your back hurt. Just like that, it is now tomorrow. Looking at our low side gauge, you can see our needle is still in the vacuum area, which is good. If it were in this gray area right here, that would mean we probably burned some moisture off, but we're still holding vacuum. If it read 0, we would have a problem. That would mean we, in fact, still had some kind of leak. But it doesn't, so we're in good shape. I guess now we gotta put our dash and all the rest of the things back in together. I know you're dying to see this car put back together. We're gonna go fast, we're gonna hustle, we're gonna get this thing done so we can test our air conditioning and then do the thing we're all dying to do, jump behind the wheel and drive it. Duct pieces, 2 screws and a clip. Crash bar support brackets, 3 bolts left, 3 bolts right. Okay, now it's time for the big boy. Our dashboard. We also have our sensor up here at the top. Normally what I'll do is I'll tie some fishing twine to it through the little hole that I can't even fit my finger in. In all actuality, I don't want you guys going fast putting this stuff back together. We're going fast in the video, but I'm still taking my time. If you see these metal clips right here, so the dashboard actually slides into those clips. So we're not just like thumping the dash on, we're taking our time and we're sliding it into place. Whoosh, nice and gentle and easy. The actual dashboard is all T25s, the fine thread, so just be careful which bolt you're putting where. Remember, if you can't start it by hand, it's the wrong one. Radio bracket, 4 screws. Something that's been pointed out to me numerous times is, hey Charles, you don't have to take this whole dash out of the car, right? I just feel like for how little extra work it is to get the dash out of the car, it's worth it. You don't have to fight getting that upper piece in and out, because that piece, it sits in at the bottom and then it clips at the top. And then you're working through basically like this hole right here. I understand not wanting to pull the box though. I totally get that, because that is not fun. Freshy glove box, 7 screws. I was installing this new rear cup holder, which looks super fresh. The problem I was having, there was always a gap here. And what I have found is that the new cup holder has these supports right here. The old one doesn't have it. I think we're gonna file those bad boys down because I want it to close all the way. Now you might remember when we were taking stuff apart, I said, be careful, you might break stuff. Well, we had some plastic just crumble apart. Not surprising for a 200,000+ mile R32 that lived in Texas. I'm gonna do some plastic weld and then we can finish putting it the rest of the way back. Lower dash panels for the driver's side, handful of screws. HVAC, 4 screws. Instrument cluster, 2 screws, nice and easy. Now, I'm going to install this so that we can test drive the car and make sure everything's good. Then it's immediately coming back out. We're gonna ship it to the Volkswagen MVP of the universe, Clusters by Litkey, so that he can put us a new screen in here for a little refreshy customization cluster action. And our final piece, the airbag. Make sure you have the battery disconnected or the ignition off or even both so you don't blow yourself up. We got strong blow, and now that I spent all that time vacuuming the car out, we get our final little bit of foam. So here's what we have left. We have to do the basic settings for our blend doors. If you have the regular Climatronic with the knobs and the cables, you don't have to do this part, but if it's electric, you definitely have to do this. So we got our scan tool hooked up. We need to go into our Climatronic control module. We're gonna blast those faults out and hope they don't come back. What the basic settings do is it learns the full stop, open and close for all the positions of the doors that you have electronic motors for. So we're gonna go into basic settings right here. We're just gonna go to 000 and hit go. That's sweeping all the positions of all the doors. So it's going all the way one way, all the way other. So we're 0 all the way across. Now we have no faults. I don't know why that one got a little sad. You ready? Cool transition time. 3, 2, 1. Okay, back in action. Red R32 completely assembled. The air conditioning works so good. I'm so happy, mega hyped. I'm listening for dash rattles. I'm not hearing any, so score 1 for the good guys on that one. And I got this cool little Power Probe brand temperature dealio. I'm sure there's a cooler name for it than what I just said, so that we can monitor the temperature of the unit. And then I got this weird looking probe sticking out of the vent, blowing out of the vent of about 50 degrees with an ambient temperature of approximately 95 degrees. Either way, everything works awesome. It's great to have air conditioning in this car that I've been daily driving for the past few weeks or whatever it's been. I would actually prefer to see these temps in the 40s, but oh, look at that. As I live and breathe, ask and the universe shall provide it. So with that, I'm out, but you should stick around and watch some of this sweet tornado pink R32 driving action.